How is everyone? Wonderful. Today is a bit auspicious for me that all of you are here right now, because today's going to be my last Wednesday here for a little while, because I'm doing a special meditation. It's a month long. It's called Samadhi Sadhana. So it's the absorption practices. And I am putting rocks in the shape of a circle, and I'm going inside the circle, and I'm not leaving that circle for a month. Yeah. So on Wednesdays, we'll still be having Wednesday meditation, which you guys should come, because it's good to keep the energy up and going in the routine of your meditation here. And there'll be someone sitting here, Hadja or Angie or somebody, Kevin. So I will still be meditating with you, but just from that location, which will be special. And then lots of new insights, I'm sure, to share at the end of it. All right, here we are. Resting in comfortable silence. I always keep coming back to this. Developing the ability to rest in comfortable silence within a group of individuals, but also by yourself. How do we make that happen? At an elevated state, at a refined level, to the point where there's an absolute connection to a source experience that you can define as being true, void of anyone's good intentioned advice, something that authentically comes from inside your own exploration. Creating a definition for what it means. Not as dialogue, but as a cellular understanding. That resting point within the comfort, within that silence, that enables the entire body to hit the same note. It resonates within the space, creating a vibration that is felt by you personally, but also felt by this source experience, this all-encompassing energy. So the two start to work as one. And this is optimal. It's been looked at and developed again and again and again across the ages, and it most likely will not ever shift. It will always be that steadiness. To develop this ability is to create alignment to that which you see with your mind's eye as being your direction, your true north. What we're developing through is this distracted qualities of mind, the focus which flickers in and out. But we always must realize that that is a part of us as well, and is not there to be scrutinized or looked upon as smaller or less than. But rather, we want to see it, connect to it as a developmental tool, quite literally a step towards firmly grounding oneself into that energetic relationship that we are identifying as being the source. And we want to practice this relationship. Just like any relationship, there's effort which must be applied. So the practice and development of this relationship starts right now. Within your ability to relate to this comfortable silence found inside oneself, no matter what other activity may be going on with thought, does not matter. The same way you can hear traffic or a conversation sitting next to you, but at the same time just maintain your own equanimity. So that same act exists at every step, leading towards that center of center that you feel inside oneself. So in effect, we want to treat everything which is not that nucleus of our own experience as external reality, which then begins to form a reciprocation of communication and also an elevation of respect. So how you engage on the outer side of your reality should also be taken into consideration on the inner, outer side of your reality. So how you work and your attitudes towards your own mind should really be the same as your attitudes towards that individual who you care about. So that equal amount. What you say to yourself should ideally be what you would say to the most dear person to you. When you work towards being able to sit in the same room of that dear person, it should be as important as you being able just to basically and simply rest with that one person inside of you. So when we take this approach, meditation becomes very easy, very simple, because all we are doing is becoming quiet. All the aspects which challenge us on the inside, we want that sound to become quiet so we can start to hear the truth of what exists within that sound, put into vocabulary. Because as we all know, often that sound which we hear is not so congruent to this source of truth. But always the question comes back to, well, how do I know what is true and what is not? How do I grapple with reality as it exists and at the same time see the silver lining within it all? And the answer is nothing. Do absolutely nothing for a period of time in your day and let it sort itself out. Because if we can keep working with the parameter of the fact that really what we are looking at when we look at meditation is the beauty and profound expansive qualities that exist within absolutely nothing. So if we can agree with that, then anything which manifests as something is not needed. And that's on an exalted level. So it's on a very high level. This practice, this simple injection of information into your ongoing practice will carry you on until potentially your last breath. But if we can develop that and begin to manage the sounds which we hear inside, making that space incredibly quiet, then we develop a grounding tool and a protective shield around you, quite literally. So that then the buoyancy is retained and no disruptive information comes towards you. Only the flowering beauty that comes from the inside out. This flowering beauty that comes from the inside out, which fills the space. It's unrealistic that we as individuals, sentient beings, so incredibly intelligent and connected, would have a negative bias towards ourselves. It's not realistic to me as a belief system. I cannot believe that. So therefore, it's a worthwhile practice to take on, to really understand how we can minimize it. And as we minimize it, we become in service to not just ourselves, but to others. This is just how we work as human beings. So the work that one person does, it opens the door for every other person that you come in contact with. So the solution to that negative bias is to do nothing. To connect oneself to the most expanded form, and at that same moment to the most finite or finest of fine points that you find within that expansion. And the two work together, so you become incredibly small and incredibly expansive at the same time. What does that mean? That means that we want to take whatever it is that we're engaging with, so whether it be a person, a place, a thing, a thought, an emotion, a sound, and we want to look at the smallest pinpoint of that subject, of that object. Whatever that may be, right there at the very center of it. And then simultaneously, we want to see all the space around it. And we want to be able to feel how big that space is. So where is the end of space if you were to take out all of the borders? The borders meaning your body, this room, and any object that is outside of this room. And just keep going. And that's the level that we want to work with. That this source energy that I'm speaking of is contained within the vessel of this human body, but this containment is connected to an incredible expansion. So this dexterity, the capability of this source energy is found everywhere. So the connectivity that you are developing with your meditation is really what we're wanting to glean onto. The connectivity, which means your mind and its ability to be void of thought is now filled with a mysterious substance, is it not? Can you go to your mind, sitting with your eyes open or closed, and look at the space around anything that you're looking at? And can you, for yourself, see how that feels? The mind void of thought. Just that space right there. And does it feel good? Does it feel optimistic? Does it feel that it's filled with potential just waiting to happen? Creativity, intelligence. So now that is a source experience of one's individual mind. And that mind quality is really what we're working with. The thought is generally based on past tense and future projections, so things that don't really exist yet, or have already existed and no longer have any validity other than to inform us. But we already know the information. You already know it. So the loops that we find ourselves in, it's time to start to remove ourselves out of those loops, these growth loops where you make a decision which leads you to another decision, which then takes you on the merry-go-round and you go, wait a minute, I've been here before. And then you just have to kind of wait for your next chance to get off that merry-go-round. And then you stand, once you get off of it, you're looking at that loop, that beautiful merry-go-round, you're saying, I am never getting back on that thing. And then something happens, and you're like, wow, that's so interesting. And then you lean in, and all of a sudden, you realize I'm standing in the merry-go-round again. Here I go. With such compassion and joy for the process we go through this. So not frustrating, not angry, just simply realizing that this is a tool to learn. And there's story upon story upon story of guru asking student to go sit by the river, or to go sit up into a cave, or into a small hut somewhere, and stay there until they figure it out. This exact topic. Figure this piece out that we're talking about right now. And sometimes they're there for 10 years. Sometimes they're there for 15 years. Sometimes they're there for 20 years. But they cannot come back to Guru until they got that piece figured out. So we're in good standing when this merry-go-round. It's not abnormal. It's actually completely on point. But the elixir, the cure, is your ability to rest into nothingness, unbiased to all that is occurring within your meditative space, because it is from past or future, it's not the present. What is in the present? Well, exactly what your intention is. Well, what is your intention? Nothing. There's nothing. Nothingness. The ability to rest into one aspect of your technique that you're working with. So whether it be a step within the body, a step within your breathing, a step within your mind, or developing the direction of dynamic stillness. And that's it. So then life naturally begins to present to you new opportunities. Small, simple, everyday, ordinary magic. Just little choices. Which then you can start to make the right decision for yourself. Just baby steps. And because those baby steps are charged with energetic vibration, which has a resonance, that cellular level really remembers it. The more we connect to it, the greater ability we have to remember, which is all now foundational steps to that point where you're like, oh wow, that looks really interesting. Oh, I'm not leaning over too far. I'm just going to look and watch it go around and be like, I'm not getting on that. And that is a huge win. A huge win for every level of your life. Externally, external world, internally, external dialogue, all the way through to that center point. Everything begins to change. That is one aspect of life where we have complete control is the decision that you create. You have absolute control over that. You can say yes, or you can say no. And realizing that this mental experience that we're having is considered an astral plane within the yoga. So your mind experience is a life experience equal to that which is occurring on your outer level, this physical reality that you move in. So the inner reality of your mind is the exact same relevancy, same potency, same reality level. But one is inside and the other is outside, and they're interchangeable. So the action which you produce on the outer reality then reinforces and supports your ability to make decisions and have dexterity within this astral level, this inner reality of mind. And those decisions that you make within this astral level of your mind has direct congruency and begins to support this outer reality. So same source energy now coming into alignment. So inner and outer become one. No longer different dialogue, no longer different actions, no longer different sight. Same. Very possible, very easy, and you're doing it. You might still be asking, how do I do that? By doing nothing. That's how. By acquainting yourself to the space around you and inside of you that is not bound by manifestation. It is yet to be manifested. And that is what then starts to create a new charge within how your neurostructure works, how your brain is organizing itself, what areas of the brain are strengthening, and what areas of the brain are getting pruned back. Because there's some aspects that are lighting up quite heavily that maybe do not need to light up so strongly anymore. Like that emotional center. Maybe doesn't need to be so strong. Can take a rest. Let that frontal cortex piece light up. And all of this happens through the simple technique that you are developing. The secret ingredient, as always, is your participation. So we just must not say that word or that sentence like that. You can still express yourself, but that combination of words is potentially no longer relevant to your growth and development. It is maybe hindering you and pushing you onto that wonderful loop-de-loop. So it's becoming incredibly mindful and weighted in how you engage with your reality. Being as silly and as funny as you want, or as serious as you are, but with that elegance of understanding that you are a conscious, sentient being, and you are completely connected to all of the space that exists inside of you and outside of you, for as far as the eye can see. And you are as tiny as a little speck in relation to the total experience that we have in our expanded reality. So nothing that we experience is that big of a deal. And at the same time, you are the center of the universe because you are the one who is experiencing. So nothing exists without your presence. And now to develop that is to develop the ability to see. So this is where this phrase, the seer, comes from. The ability to see. The ability to see things for what they are. but accepting that you are where you are in your development. So what you're seeing is absolute for you at this moment in time, and it's open-ended. So you will continue to grow. So it's accepting in such a way that you are not holding it. You're simply allowing it to be there. So looking at me, looking at this room, choosing something to look at, and expand your mind to see, well, what is the truth of that? If science has found ample space in all physical objects. And looking at it in such a way that you're willing to learn. And you're also willing to own the fact that you know something, that you understand something. And that combination is a great recipe for developing a relationship with this source energy. It gives you the ability to move with it. And become joyous in the decisions that are good for you on the most mundane of levels. Any questions?
I've enjoyed the last couple of weeks coming to Satsang, and I think I'm in a place right now where I'm starting to get more comfortable getting into a space without thought and being able to clear my mind and tap into my mind. I'm finding though that I engage with this side mostly when I come here, and then I've just started listening to some of the broadcasts that you have as well. But I was just wondering if you have any suggestions on how I can make a step to tap into this space kind of in a more independent way, and make it more involved in my life, like aside from just when I come here.
Choose a space in your house and make it really comfortable. So it doesn't necessarily need to be in a cross-legged position. It can be more of a contemplative space. So sitting in your favorite chair or whatever it may be that makes you feel comfortable, and just be there for a period of time. So it can be looking out a window or looking at an object which you really enjoy that's uplifting, and just be there. And then practice closing the eyes and being there. And then open the eyes and stay there. And then standing up and stay there. And then start walking. And then notice when you move away from that. And then bring yourself back to that same seat. Sit down and then start the exercise again. And then expanding that exercise to walking outside in nature. Wintertime is amazing. It's pristinely quiet. Just get all warm and sit somewhere outside and listen. Make the connection and see the magical twinkle that exists within the air. And then same thing, standing up, walking, seeing if you can connect, and then watch it fade away, and then come back to that place, and then do it again. And that'll help a lot. Just, it's an exercise, so we must look at this as an inner muscle. The mind is an inner muscle, and it just needs to be worked regularly and strengthened, and it is able to do whatever it is that we wish. You're welcome.
question about doing candlelight meditations.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm trying to sit down and focus on the candlelight, I'm getting better at it. But my problem is I have contacts, so I find it tends to dry my eyes when I use it. Is there any sort of trick or technique you would recommend besides just taking them out?
I think taking them out is good. You might not be able to see the candle, but you'll definitely be able to see the light. Because the idea is that you actually want your eyes to go to the point where they start to tear. And that's what that candle meditation is really for, is developing concentration and also purifying the eyes. So,
is there a way to do it without drying the eyes?
well, that part, the drying of your eyes, I think might be something more personal to you. The drying of the eyes happens generally because you're not blinking. And that's actually the technique of that practice, is you keep the eyes open without blinking so that they get dry, and then it just starts to tear. Naturally, the tear ducts start to work a little bit stronger. If your eyes are just dry, then maybe that takes like some kind of a drop or something in there to soften them up. Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
So I'm trying to figure out how to articulate this. I've been thinking about this for weeks because I haven't been able to come here on Wednesdays.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been meditating now for a number of months, and I'm noticing those little miracles more and more happening in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm noticing how I seem to know what I want more and more. And with that being said, I had a situation previously that I just didn't feel brave enough, and I felt too much guilt to actually move through, to carry through with what I wanted. And now I feel like I have more of that inner strength. I don't even know how that's happening. And the clarity part I understand. But how can a person continue to move through what they want without feeling this guilt? Because previously I would just want to please the people around me. And have any suggestions?
Mm-hmm. Well, it goes back to that inner strength piece. And how that is happening is through the practice of meditation. We are beginning to connect to the source energy, that vibration which exists all around already manifested thoughts and emotion. And as we develop that relationship, we begin to pull the investment away from that thought, from that emotion. So that investment, as it draws your awareness into it, starts to spin it around and create storylines for you to follow, which weakens your ability to make that decision and follow through with something. So when we pull that investment back, we're actually placing it into an alignment, into congruency with what this inner self is saying is the most important. And that process begins to create that protective bubble that we were talking about earlier, and the buoyancy. So that buoyancy takes you above all of the storylines which we've created for ourselves as to how we could possibly hurt someone or why we should feel guilty. And we literally just start to see the truth that, well, there's actually nothing to be guilty for.
So when you speak of buoyancy, are you referring to fluidity?
Also, but
Okay.
also the ability just to maintain a higher state of your vibration, not getting bogged down or pulled down
Right.
by doubt.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So with that buoyancy then, if someone else is trying to pull you in a direction and you're trying not to feel guilty, do you just, with that buoyancy, it'll help you to stay aligned without listening to other talk?
That's right. It
Okay.
no longer has any weight because you
Okay.
can hear clearly a specific sound that you know is true
Right.
and that you know is real and that you know is easy. So no longer does that other have an influence. The
Okay.
other has the influence because of the investment into those emotional states, which creates a vulnerability. And that vulnerability is the individual looking for an answer. What to do? I want to do the right thing. I don't want to hurt somebody.
Mhm.
So then that starts to funnel in to the direction that that other individual would like you to go. So without that investment, there's actually no longer any currency for them to use. It's finished.
Okay.
It's sealed off. And then you're then healing that aspect, which is creating guilt.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have an audience question.
Mm-hmm.
About 4 years ago, during very early attempts at meditation, I had an evening of quiet darkness, sitting up on my bed with the headboard behind me. I began meditation with a fleeting thought that nothing ever happens to me. I relaxed into my posture for what seemed like 10 minutes, when I caught a glimpse of something really small moving towards me from the bottom right peripheral of my closed eyes. Within a fraction of a second, the thing had moved itself big, bold, and large right in front of my face, so startling that I threw my head back to not get hit with it in the face. I hit my head on the wall behind me, opened my eyes in shock, and immediately went from relaxed emptiness to wide-eyed disbelief. I'm making it sound dramatic, but it was. The thing was the word quantum in thick, bold letters. 4 years ago, I didn't have a clue what quantum meant. It was not part of my vocabulary in any way. I turned on my light, went to my phone to look up the meaning, and wrote it down. Much has happened since then, including my exposure to the word quantum. I'm still in wonder what the significance of it is for me, and why is it in my face?
Well, quantum is a good thing. And in truth, all that manifests within meditation should be treated the same way. Because what we are developing is the quality of nothingness. So we want that which we're experiencing to simply come and go, no matter how dramatic it is. If in fact there is a message in there for you, then you will most certainly understand it, which sounds like she did to some extent understand it. And then the development of the meditation technique, her practice, will just keep bringing more insight. Not necessarily focused on a word, but rather the overall experience of what is occurring through the meditation at that moment in time. Because in all of its beauty, there is an element of dramaticness within it. And we want to maintain an equanimity of mind. And that equanimity comes through the ability of listening, and at the same time not attaching ourselves to anything which occurs, no matter how beautiful, no matter how elated, no matter how ecstatic, blissful the experience is. We do not want to catch it. We do not want to fixate on it. We just simply let it go. And that's for all things. Because as soon as we begin to fixate on it, it becomes increasingly more real. And the objective of meditation is that we want to see, well, What exists beyond that which we see? Beyond that which we feel? What exists within the sound, within the sound, within the sound? We have all day to go through thought and choose one and analyze it and develop it and create something out of it. But our meditation time, we want it to be simply about nothing. No matter how grandiose its delivery. Which is hard to take sometimes, because we want to feel significant, and we want significant things to happen to us. We are all often, as a society, looking for that big break to make us become more special than the person next to us. Not because any one person is too thirsty for attention, but it's just simply how we've designed our society. And it will come through in every way. So we superimpose experiences. Not consciously, but subconsciously, as tools to develop us. Right? Everything is like that. So if we close our eyes and we say the experience of nothing, and then all this beautiful color is manifesting for us to look at. But you just look straight through it. Let it dissolve. Because what exists beyond that, beyond your organization of your brain that says, hold this pattern like this. Any other last questions?
How do you simultaneously persevere and muster the focus to achieve certain goals that you hold dear or hold high, but not attached to the outcome of achieving it?
Yes, and that has been an art form that has been developing for a very, very long time. And some of the development which has occurred is through the ability to be connected to the task of doing rather than the outcome. And if it's in alignment to the truth that you feel on the inside, then that task becomes so effortless, so incredibly easy to do, and there's incredible amounts of joyous sensation that comes from it, even if it is hard to do. So we focus on that task at hand, knowing all the while that eventually you're going to achieve that goal. And we start to create increased momentum around that, just the simple joy of doing.
What if that goal at face value seems impossible to reach, or there's a lot of disturbing factors?
Well, sometimes that's the case. And the process, again, is not about that end result. It's about the effort put towards achieving it. So you may, or you may not, fully get to that place. And then if you look at lifetimes, then this is a good value. So then you do your good work till this point and then save the rest. So that point, that object of focus may actually be completely different, but the intention, the sensation around it will be the same. So you are achieving the exact same with maybe a slightly different package. You're welcome. Always it becomes more easy of a journey when we work from the inside out. So all these little alignment factors, we really want to get dialed. And keep remembering that this inner astral level of mind is as significant as your outer reality, and treating it as such. So how you conduct yourself on the inside should be how you conduct yourself on the outside. And how you conduct yourself on the outside should be how you conduct yourself on the inside. And just that congruency makes everything easier. Any final anything? Okay, let's close the eyes. As you're becoming comfortable, what is the posture which is perfect for your body, which gives you greatest access to the quality of space that is meditation? And we want to look closely at your experience and really see, is the experience of meditation happening in your body, in your breathing, in your mind, or in that space of dynamic stillness? And being very okay with where your meditation is as it begins to expand into the other levels of body experience. The charge which you are creating within this stage of your meditation sends ripples of positivity encoded with the information that you need. Encoded with the information that you need for the moments after meditation, leading you to the next time you sit. To becoming absolutely present within the quality of space as you observe the object, whether it be your physical body, your energetic body connected to your breathing, your mental body, or the quantum field of dynamic stillness. Owning that space. Keeping the eyes closed, bring full deep breaths into the body. Keeping the eyes closed, bring your gaze into the space just there in front of you. Keeping the eyes closed, soften your gaze. And very slowly and gently allow the eyes to open. So now the activity which manifested during that time is significant. The activity which manifested at that time is an opportunity for you to practice what we were just talking about. And some of us registered and remembered and then were able to apply, and others of us just jumped on that story wagon and went. Both is just fine. Because through your act of doing, it has no choice but to go in the direction which you are pointing. And that's just the simple truth of it. So as mild, medium, or intense effort will yield that. So mild effort yields mild. Intense and strong effort will yield that as well. But then we have to take that word intense and then see it through a lens which is congruent to this art of non-trying and simply resting into space, and help to recontextualize your understanding of the meaning within the word. Always keeping close to your meditation the understanding that your gaze is directed right there in front of you. In front of you means the moment you realize that you're looking. So the moment you realize that you can see. And then just beyond that moment of realization is where you want to maintain your gaze. Into that field of space. So that field of space is dynamic stillness. It's this quantum field, a field of potential. It is endlessly creating. And what is created is then put into motion in an endless form. So to begin to understand that is then to begin to become very conscious in these choices that we're making. Not which has already happened, meaning as an emotion, as a memory, as a thought that is past. It's already happened. But now it's what we do with this present moment time. That's actually what's planting the seeds for the future thought and emotion right now. So this work that you do right now is the most significant. That which has already happened that you're seeing again is just the tidying up, the developing through, the realizing, oh yeah, I don't need that anymore. And then those decisions that just simply stops the flow in that direction and then redirects it into greater congruency of alignment with that deep source of self on the inside and that expansive source of self on the outside. The two working together, constantly working together. Sending out a ping and then you hear it, then you hear the ping and then you align. Right? You're always looking forward, are you not? Like in the spectrum of the movement of the eyes, it's always in one direction. No matter what direction you face, you're always facing that. So the reality is that the direction of where you are going, what you wish to achieve, and where you are is always found in that space. Always. It doesn't ever leave you. If you ask the question, well, where am I going in my life? It's right there. But on a very, very deep and fine level we're talking about. So the destination is right there in front of you. You can hear it, you can feel it, you can see it on a very, very fine level. And you just have to develop the relationship to that alignment with increasing strength. And that strength comes through your momentum. Momentum comes through you simply doing. Sitting morning for 1 minute, if that's all you have time for. And then just follow that until night. You might just have 2 minutes to sit. In whatever condition you're in, sit. Right? Because sometimes that's the deterrent. Oh, I had a big dinner or had a glass of wine. Whatever condition, you sit. Because then that is transient. So you're not always having a big meal and you're not always having a glass of wine. But what is consistent is from morning to night. You're just going to follow that to the next sit, next sit, next sit, next sit, next sit, next sit. And start to clear pathway for the rest of your day. Day and night, day and night, day and night, day and night. You are the center. You are the most important. Thank you very much, everyone. Namaste. I'll see you soon. If you ever want to take on an experiment, see if you can find me in meditation. It's worthwhile. See, where's Rameen? I sometimes do little exercises with people where we choose a time, so let's say 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then at 4 in the afternoon, that person will then send me a message, and I have to hear the message, and then the next day or next time I see that person, tell them what it is that they said. And it's amazing how it works. Telephone telepathy, right? It's that same idea. Right before someone calls, you're like, oh, Johnny's giving me a call. And then all of a sudden, Johnny starts calling you. That same idea. We're always connected through these waves. So always at first, it's a little bit choppy. So what I hear is a bit of static. And then, oh, this is silly. What am I doing? I don't know. I'm just sitting here. But then with practice, it becomes crystal clear as to what is being said. So let's see. If you're inclined, I start on Tuesday. I'll be there. Let's see what happens. Okay. Thank you again.
If you ever have any questions for Rameen, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to be able to curate a broadcast that is more in alignment with your genuine inquiries about anything and everything and meditation. You can email me, Haji, and I will ask your questions on your behalf anonymously. You can reach me at info@sattvaonline.com. That's info@sattvaonline.com. And I'll make sure to let you know as soon as your questions were answered on air.